In the summer of 1983, around the end of May, while at his home in Vancouver, a man named Mr. Payne met with a person referred to as Mr. L. Payne noticed that Mr. L's father was in poor health and told Mr. L, "Your father has had a lifelong habit of heavy drinking, consuming an entire bottle of whiskey or brandy daily. His liver is now showing signs of cancer." Mr. L was shocked but didn't believe him, responding, "My father doesn't believe in superstitions, so he wouldn't trust what you're saying." Pei replied, "I know he won't believe me, and I don't intend to make him believe. However, your father once performed a great act of kindness and virtue, which I was shown by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They instructed me to see it and told me to save him. If you don't believe me, why don't you take your father to see a doctor? After the diagnosis, come back to me." Mr. L asked, "What kind of act did my father do? He never talks about his actions, not even to us. Since you're saying this, can you tell me what he did?" Pei replied, "I won't tell you, but I can write a few words on a note, and you can take it home and show it to your father. He will know what I mean as soon as he sees the words." On the note, Pei wrote, "About 37 years ago, your father, while working in the legal or police sector, helped exonerate a woman wrongfully sentenced to death, clearing her name and securing her release. His righteous act saved 9 lives in her family." Mr. L was skeptical as they had never heard of such a thing from their father. Pei said, "Just take it to your father and see." A few days later, Mr. L called Pei in shock, saying, "Pei, how did you know about this?" My father was extremely surprised. He said no one knew about this. He never told anyone. "This is unbelievable," Pei responded. "It's nothing surprising. Whether good or evil, there will always be someone who knows. As the saying goes, 3 feet above our heads, the gods watch over us. Any good or evil deed will be known to the Bodhisattvas. Although no outsider knew about your father's virtuous act, and though he did not seek credit or recognition, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas were aware. They instructed me to use my heavenly eye to see that your father now has a liver disease. If not for his great virtuous deed, his condition would have been incurable by now." Mr. L said, "My father said he never even told my mother about this, and we, his children, knew nothing about it. Now that you wrote it down so clearly, my father finally revealed it, and our whole family is astonished." Pei asked, "So does your father believe in the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas now?" Yes. Mr. L replied. "He used to believe in nothing, but now he does. We will take him to see a doctor for his liver right away." A week later, Mr. L called again. "Pei, the specialist confirmed that my father has a serious liver condition, and he wants to see you for further advice." Pei said, "I will do my best to help your father. First, he needs to quit smoking and drinking." Mr. L's father, who had never heeded doctor's advice to quit smoking and drinking, immediately gave up both after hearing Pei's words. Mr. L's entire family later came to see Pei, and under Pei's guidance, Mr. L's father started to pay attention to his health. His condition gradually improved, and his liver pain subsided. Pei used his heavenly eye to observe that the cancer cells in Mr. L's father's liver had clearly stopped growing. This was truly a miracle, the miracle of the Buddhist teachings. This true miracle became widely known in Vancouver, and Mr. L's family became close friends with Pei. Mr. L's father visited Pei and, in front of more than 10 guests, announced the truth. He recounted how, years ago, a woman had been sentenced to death for a drug trafficking case. Upon closer investigation, he discovered that the woman had been framed by drug dealers and was used as a scapegoat. He worked tirelessly to secure a retrial and eventually caught the real culprit, clearing the woman's name. Mr. L's father said, "I did what I believed was my duty. I never thought it was a deed worth mentioning, so I never told anyone about it, not even my wife. Even the people involved in the case barely knew about it. I don't understand how you could have known." Pei smiled and said, "The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas instructed me to use my heavenly eye to see you in court, pleading for mercy in that wrongful case." He described the details of what happened over 40 years ago, as clear as day. Mr. L's father was astonished. It was a closed-door hearing. "How could you have seen that?" He admitted that Pei's description was completely accurate. "There is one thing I don't understand," Mr. L's father said. "I only saved one person. How do you say there were 9 lives involved?" Pei explained, "The woman was pregnant at the time. If she had been wrongfully executed, it would have been 2 lives lost. Her husband, in his grief, planned to poison all 6 of their children and then commit suicide. If you hadn't worked to overturn the case, Wouldn't that have been 9 lives lost? Mr. L's father said, I had heard that the family might have committed suicide, but I didn't realize it would have involved 9 lives. He added, this is all so strange. It was my personal secret. How could you have known everything? Pei smiled and said, good and evil deeds are known to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and the gods. Some people will also know. Rest assured, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are aware of your virtuous deed, and they sent me to help you. Your illness is not a serious matter because your good deed has planted a good cause, and you will surely receive a good reward. Mr. L's father said, I believe in Buddhism now. Everyone present started chanting the Buddha's name continuously. Pei explained that good deeds are rewarded with good outcomes, and evil deeds with bad ones. This is one of the fundamental laws of cause and effect in the universe. He provided this real-life example to encourage everyone to believe in cause and effect, do more good deeds, and spread the belief in this universal law. He urged people not to be swayed by those who claim to be knowledgeable or famous but dismiss the law of cause and effect as superstition. These people not only deceive themselves but also mislead others. Another example involved an elderly Mrs. K, who was seriously ill. At first, she didn't believe in Pei's abilities, but after her son requested Pei's help, he diagnosed her condition, identified the source of her illness, provided treatment suggestions, and advised her to pray to the Bodhisattva Guanyin for protection. He noted that her illness was severe and would have been life-threatening if not for a good deed she had done in the past. I don't recall doing any good deeds, Mrs. K exclaimed in surprise. Pei explained, this is something only you and your late husband would know. I saw you take money and personally send a dying woman to the hospital. This woman was poor and sick, and without your help, she would have died of hunger and illness. Fortunately, you saved her and her 3 children. Later, you continued to support her family, saving them from starving on the streets and from dying during the Japanese occupation's famine. Mrs. K was so shocked that she began to cry, saying, Pei, everything you said is true. That happened during the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong, but you were probably not even born at that time. You didn't know me. How could you know this? You truly have great supernatural powers. Pei smiled and said, one thought of kindness moves the heavens. You planted a seed of good and are now reaping the good fruit. Do you think I saw this with some supernatural power? Where would I get such power? There are many other examples of people who planted bad seeds and reaped bad outcomes, but today he chooses not to discuss their cases as he believes good deeds should be praised while bad deeds should be kept private. Pei shared these stories to illustrate that good deeds are rewarded with good outcomes and to encourage readers to perform acts of kindness with a Buddha-like heart. His intention is not to urge people to seek merit, but to follow the Buddha's teachings of compassion and helping others. In doing so, one will naturally receive good rewards and blessings. He urged everyone not to dismiss the law of cause and effect as a simplistic notion and fail to do good deeds. The Buddha's teachings emphasize compassion and helping others as the foundation and goal, which is also the highest ideal of humanity. The belief that good deeds are rewarded with good outcomes and bad deeds with bad ones is one of the fundamental concepts in Buddhism, rooted in the law of cause and effect in the universe, not superstition. Though simple, it is not naive. Only those who are ignorant and shallow, or those who have superficially absorbed Western ideas, dismiss it as superstition without deeper study. Many cutting-edge space scientists in the West are now researching Buddhism, and they are gradually proving that the law of cause and effect is universal.